This used to be my old boarding school, and I thought it was already destroyed, but it wasn't destroyed. So I'm lucky that I can make some recording for later when I'm older. So this is where we used to come in. We never went to take the front door. Now it's rented with rooms, all kind of students' rooms. They live now in this house. The other building that you saw, this is used to be the office of my boarding school. This is where I had the therapy and where I experienced a lot of mind control, mind abuse. You know, I was kidnapped, I was raped in my adopted parents' adopted family, and then I was locked away for 1 year in a crisis house. That's what they do with children who run away from the parents in the Netherlands. You being locked up for 1 year, and after the 1 year, the state is trying to find a place where you can stay. And I was brought by this boarding school in this classical street, and it was very painful. Everyone tried to know everything about me, and when they knew anything about me, they used everything against you. So this was really a huge mental abuse. You know, if I read the reports about what they are writing to me about me, it's just horrible, horrified, painful to go through this kind of discrimination, hurtfulness. But in their mind, they have done an amazing job, this organization. You know, in this child care industry, people have to write reports, because with reports they can show that they deserve the money that's being paid for the children. So I really understand very well how the system works, and the system is absolutely brutal for children. And I don't think that the system have become any better. Even my experience here was really bad. It became worse when I left this house. I had to go to another boarding school, and they were more brutal than this one. And but I knew I had to survive this because I had a plan with my life. What I want to say is in this story that I never confirmed to them that I know that Michael Jackson was my father, because I know if I did that, I would have been thrown away to a mental house or whatever. They were not going to help me and investigate the true or not the true. They were just here to make profit. Children were money making machine, and it was a business, you know. So they were not going to save me and bring me back to my father. I never had any delusional illusion about that. I knew this was my boarding school. I knew they made a lot of money of having me, taking care of me as a child. It was business. I was business, and they were gonna write the reports that they wanted, making the own fact that they wanted. But you know, even they knew that I was 3 years older. They didn't do enough to get me the legal right that I deserve it. So they knew very fast here that my age was 3 years older, and they did not work hard enough to make the legal change so that I could be free. So, and I have blamed them for that. And I knew that they were failing me, so I took action in my own hands. So it was in this house that I went and find myself the lawyer in the end that will help me accomplishing what I need to do. So my lawsuit against the Dutch government surrounding my identity is really huge, and I think I've been waiting for this moment all my life to tell them the pain and suffering I went through in this process. So I'm so proud today standing here in front of my old boarding school that my lawsuit with the Dutch government is already starting. It will be treated by the court in 2023, and I will remind them about how I suffer. So after being kidnapped to the Netherlands, being raped and adopted parents, I also had to face mental abuse here in this house by really, really crazy people thinking that they knew it all exactly. You know, there are always some people that are in your heart, because nothing is black and white, but this was black and white. It was absolutely brutal, cruel, and hurtful, and no any child should be in a boarding school. But there was no other solution for me, because I had no other family, because I was adopted and kidnapped. And I'm happy that I survived this brutality, that I survived. And I'm happy that I can share my experience with others on my YouTube channel. So this lawsuit that the government saying that they don't have any responsibility for my suffering, for my kidnapping. They did everything amazing, that I'm the problem. You know, they shouldn't take children outside the country if that's the way they deal with it, with situation. The way they have deal with my situation is very bad, and I may be one of the few children in the world who's capable to tell my story, because mentally it couldn't break me, and no one will ever break me mentally. If I have learned anything in my life, how to be strong and how to be independent and not to allow anyone mind control me, I learned it all in this house. I learned it all in this house. Nobody's going to mind control me about my life. The mind control and the mind games that they play today have cost me years of trauma, trusting people. Yeah, they say, they wrote in a report that I, as a child, didn't trust anyone. And they blame it all to other things and other situations, but they never look at themselves, that they were the problem why I didn't trust anyone. You know, I can give you one finger, but if I give you one finger and you eat my finger, then I will no longer trust you with any of my finger. And this is what they do. They teach me, they educate me that I was just money, you know, and I was just a problem child. But they did understand one thing, that my adopted parents were really bad people, that it wasn't really everything my fault. But I wasn't safe. I wasn't safe. And they also knew that the child protection was doing a horrible job, doing the things that they do. And they didn't confirm the child protection. They were doing a horrible job, because the child protection only listened to himself, and that have cost me a lot of suffering. So I learned in this house that if I want to survive this, I need to be quiet. If I want to survive this, I have to depend on myself. And I have not to blame anyone else if I fail in life, because I have to blame only myself. So in this house, I learned I wasn't gonna allow anyone to mental game me. I walk away for people who play mental game with me. And I know when to play it, I know how to play it, because I had many people here in this house educate me how you can manipulate and mental game you. There were people working in this house I really hate. I never thought that I could hate some kind of people in my life that way before. It was absolutely a new kind of hate that I have never experienced before, but I experienced it. They calling me fat because I was black and I was muscular built, always complaining about my hair, not allowing me to be a black girl the way that I am was horrible. Was absolutely horrible and scandalous. And you know, I have never said something ugly about the way that my son looks or other children look, because I know what it means to you. But anyway, I could deal with this, because in this house I wasn't being raped every week. In this house, my adopted father couldn't say anything, beat me up every week. So in the way that I see it, this was a kind of freedom where I could think about what happened to me in Haiti. I had a lot of nightmares in this house, and some people say, you know, we tried our best to be nice to you, but they were not nice. They were paid to be nice, but they were not nice. They were not nice people. And I have seen things, I have seen manipulation, things that they did to children that I was thinking, I'm never gonna do that with my son. Joshua, my son, who is 23 years, he has no idea how great I am, that I never played any mentally games with him, because the things that they did with me, the mental manipulation, it was really, really mental manipulation that was their technique to get children moving. I didn't bite, and because I didn't bite, I was a problem. You know, I was a problem. They couldn't get to me. You know, no one could get through me. I was really in closed door. Some people were saying I was acting. I wasn't a real person. I was acting. And in my mind, I was only thinking like, fuck you. I don't care what you think of me. You are mentally abusing me. But you need to mentally abusing me because you need to write reports about me. And if you don't write any reports about me, then you cannot make any money from me. So I understand. So I was very young and I understand the system. And I was very young and I understood very well that these people, they were not going to help me. They were not going to save me. But you know what? I was better there than I was with my adopted parents. But I didn't deserve it, because adoption should not supposed to be that way. Being raped, being abused. That's not the way children are being adopted. So many children who are adopted in the Netherlands had to face a lot of abuse in the adopted family. And what did the government do? The government threw them in houses like this. I was lucky. This was quite a good house, you know. This was people who said they're gonna give us better treatment. I mean, there were houses where children were being put into closed doors, couldn't get out at all, who are receiving medication against the will because they resisted. So if you look at my story, I was quite okay. I was quite lucky. So if you look at me, if you look at my story that way, you can say, well, my God, you are lucky. If you look at situation, it could have been worse for me. It could have been worse. So I always understood that with the things that I was dealing with, I was quite lucky in a way. I always really understood that. And because I understood that, I knew I had to be strong and I had to be focused. So even after all the problems I went through with my ex, I was happy that my child wasn't coming in that kind of system. I think I will have murdered everyone if my son will come in that kind of system, because I know how cruel and how brutal the system does. And the system where children have to be in a boarding school, government boarding schools, is hell. It's absolutely hell. So I'm always happy that my son didn't have to go there, and that my son grow up. But I want in the court that I'm doing with the Dutch government surrounding my kidnapping, I want them to know what a hell it was for me, and that they need to take responsibility for what happened, and that there is no way that they don't have any responsibility of my grieving, of my pain, of my youth, you know. And that things wasn't easy. So they cannot say, you know what, we took our responsibility. You went to a boarding school, because there are a lot of children that I believe in the system didn't have to be in a boarding school, because the child protection, they are guilty of all the problems these children had to face, also mine. And to imagine that I was really kidnapped. My papers weren't correct. My adopted parents were not correct. I mean, the lawyer of the state, the Netherlands, this country, is saying that they did an amazing job. What amazing job? They did a horrible job. I became a child without parents. I became an orphan. And I was here all alone, being taken care of people who only trying to mentally brainwash me. That's it. But it didn't work. It didn't work because I was too old. It didn't work because I was too smart. It didn't work because I'm too intelligent. It didn't work because I went through worst. Being kidnapped, seeing people die in front of me, losing my father, finding out my father is Michael Jackson. I went to too much to let something like this break me down. So when I came here in this house, I knew I had to survive. I had to survive it. And I wanted my age to be changed. And they couldn't do it. So after, when my boarding school was finished, so I was out. So the government, because they didn't do the work properly, and they knew that my life, I was 3 years older, they let me suffer the extra 3 years. So if they have done the job, I didn't have to do 3 extra years in boarding school because no one did the job. I suffered for 3 years. And for that, I'm going to court with the Dutch government. I'm going to court because they did a crime to me and I want them to be punished for that. And I'm really real about this. So this house, they tried to change my age, but they didn't work hard enough to make it happen. And they keep saying that the child protection was giving them a problem because years didn't do anything. They didn't have any control. But you know what? This company did not take the child protection to court. Say, listen, we have a child here. She's 3 years older. The hospital, UMC, have already proved it, that the age is not correct, and we want to change. So they didn't go to court for that. So, and that's government. The child protection is government. So they made me suffer. They made me suffer for 3 years till I was old enough to go and change myself. And for that, I want them to be punished by law, in the name of law. For that, they have really done a crime to me that I will not be forgetting, and I cannot forget of the horrible thing they have done to me. And it's all started in this house. In this house, I also find my lawyer. I find my lawyer in this house. I was allowed to make phone calls one times a week, and I used my 1 times a week to find myself a lawyer. In this house, I wrote the Raad van State. The Raad van State is the lawmaker in the Netherlands, and asked them to send me a list of lawyers. And that was the first time. This is where I became my own lawyer and knew every step that I was going to take. Just like I'm taking my step now through the Dutch government, I also know which step I'm going to take against the Jackson family for the horrible crime they have done to me. So this was Mocienne Petit Jackson, and I want to say this is a really big surprise that my childhood house is still here, and very happy that I can record this for the history of my family, of where I lived and where I survived, and what made me big. My journey is still not there because I'm planning to accomplish more. And I hope with God's help, even I almost don't believe in God anymore. Just like what Britney Spears did, she went through so much hell. Where is God? But I still want to believe something that's positive. I'm not there yet. I want to make the humanity rights better in the Netherlands. And doing my lawsuit with the Dutch government that will be in court in 2003 is a first step. I think all the children who are adopted and being dumped in boarding schools in the government, I think they all need damage. They all need more than just apologizing. It was cruel. It's very cruel. It's already cruel when it's happened when you are born into the country, something like this happened to you, but it's also worse when you are being kidnapped into the country and something like this happened to you. So me saying that Michael Jackson is my father is just such a small part of my life. I mean, I think it's horrible that he died, because I would have loved to fight with him about so many things. that I went through. But he's no longer alive, and I wish that he was alive and he could see all these things. I do know that when my father, Michael Jackson, was alive, that he did some investigation about my life. So I think he already knew this. And I know for sure he have already probably seen this house and see everything that I went through, because he was for 9 months before he died. He was in the Netherlands. So I want to believe that he saw all this. That's what I want to believe, because 9 months, being 9 months in a country, you can see a lot of things. So I think that my father have already seen this. That's how I want to hold myself about this. I'm crying. So I think that I want to believe that my father already will see that. And for me, it's very special. The house is still alive because I was told it was going to be destroyed. So after 30 years, so this is really amazing. It was Mocienne Petit Jackson. Thank you for watching my channel and my journey. And I will keep you updating about my court with the Dutch government in 2023. Bye-bye.